In the world of One Piece, there's a few people who partake in the herbage and a few people that partake in the underage. So in this video, I'll be creating the Dream Blunt rotation with 12 characters. Each character will have a distinct role in this rotation so that we can find the one pot. The one pot is real. Try to guess who you think would be in this circle. If you can guess 6 to 8 characters, you're pretty chill. I like you. If you can guess 8 to 10, then you have Future Sight Haki. And if you can guess 10 to 12, you're in my head. Get out! The voices! They don't... Sorry about that. Anyways, our first role on the ship is going to be a storyteller. Someone who can tell me tales as vividly as if I was there. Give me God Usopp. Usopp is known for 2 things. His extremely accurate cum shots and his wild stories. Even though I know all his stories are fake, maybe if I get high enough, I'll believe them. And getting that high isn't out of the question, given that Usopp uses his pop greens, or should I say, pot greens, to grow some crazy potent za. The weed he smokes is so strong that smoking it gives him extreme paranoia. But this is a good thing, since paranoia can allow him to see into the future with his observation haki. This is gonna be the key for him defeating Van Augur in their final battle. Even though his paranoia can get bad, most of the time, Usopp's a chill guy, and I'd sesh with him anytime. Also, Usopp uses his nose to pack the blunt tighter than Arlong's gills, and we can light that blunt with our human lighter Ace. But Ace is more than just a designated lighter of the circle. He's the life of the party. Port Gas, the Ace, is one of the characters that no one hates. He's got it all. The swag, the cool powers, the abs, the succulent rosy lips, the long throbbing... Anyways, I'm always down to chief with Ace. Being of the life of party also means he's responsible for keeping the vibes chill. If Usopp becomes too paranoid, Ace will calm him down. If you aren't feeling so good, his fiery aura will spread warmth and positivity to you. I had the same warm feeling after a night with Katarina Devon, except the warm feeling was only around my meat. Maybe I should get that checked. Ace is truly a light in the dark for all smoke sessions. If only he could keep his light when he wanted to smoke with Blackbeard. Okay, moving on. We got the stories, we got the vibes. But now, we're just a bunch of kids getting high off our asses. Feels like high school, right? And we're over that phase of our life. Well, all of us except Sanji, who still simps for high school girls. What we need is some words of wisdom, and who better to give us those words than Gold D. Roger. For those of you who don't know, Roger is currently a rookie pirate, but he's been everywhere. Skypiea, Fishman Island, Laugh-Tale, and the guts of Port Gas de Rouge. The man's a legend. He once smoked a blunt that's as long as his mustache in one toke. But what really sets him apart is his insight into the world of One Piece. Imagine him dropping the lore of the world government and IMU. I'd be so enlightened that my third eye is gonna be whiter than puddings. And no, I'm not talking about that third eye, you fucking weirdos. It'd also be a nice fatherly son moment for Ace and Roger to see each other again. It might even bring a tear to my eye. But this isn't a sad session. So let's introduce our comedian of the group, Monteith D. Luffy. Luffy is already one of the funniest people in One Piece. From him acting like a goofball or just stretching his foreskin, he gets everyone laughing. And his laugh has to be one of the most contagious things in the whole show. Almost as contagious as COVID-19, a virus that has infected over 700 million people to date. Make sure you do your part by washing your hands after edging to this video. Remember, stopping this Panera starts with you washing your dick. Luffy was already a top tier pick, but now that he has Gear 5, he's a must-have. Think of how funny it would be if he was bouncing around and turning into a cartoon character. Well, I mean, he is already animated, but you know what I mean. Gear 5 might do it for me. One make and I'd be rolling on the floor. Like I'd actually be rolling my joints on the floor because I can't stand up from laughing too hard. The one downside of Luffy is that he gets munchies like crazy. So we're gonna need a good cook next. Usually I'd give this to Sanji, but he's currently in level 7 of Impel Down after perving on Jewelry Bonnie. So give me Lucky Chubbaroo. Me and Lucky Roo aren't too different. We both have a fat piece of meat in our hands, except mine only appears when Big Mom is on screen. But Roo stays strapped with both meat and weed. Sounds like a balanced diet, right? Then why the fuck is he Lizzo coated? Well, as the cook of the crew, he has to taste test all the food before he serves it. Just like how I scramble and eat Big Mom's unfertilized eggs for breakfast each morning. While he's zooted, Lucky Roo gets carried away and ends up eating all the food while tasting it. And so, he cooks the whole feast again from scratch, and this process continues until Luffy loses his shit and barges into the kitchen. Surprisingly, even with his doughboy body, Lucky Roo has one of the best speeds in the verse. It's said that he once finished 3 Drake-sized blunts in under a minute. 60 seconds. That's almost as fast as I'm gonna last in bed with Boa hand on my cock, who will be our designated baddie of the crew. Now every elite sesh needs one baddie in rotation that everyone sims for, but besides her looks, Boa is an elite level stoner. Her street name is Pirate Hempress, and she can outsmoke most of the members in the circle. Her tolerance is higher than me making this video right now. But where does this high tolerance come from? Well, I have a theory, a film theory. Boa, to treat her PTSD of being a slave at the marijuana capital. Boa Hancock doesn't smoke to get high, she smokes to survive. Inhale the bullshit, exhale the good shit type shit. The only thing that makes her feel lifted now is watching Luffy put meat in his mouth. Boa is a must-have for every circle because if we ever run out of weed, she has another way of getting us stoned. But there's some people who always look stoned, no matter how much they smoke, like Admiral Kizazaru, who will be taking the role of the super high guy in our sesh. Now I know what you're thinking, pirates, marines, PDF files, this ain't gonna work out. Someone's about to crash out harder than Crash Bandicoot. But you know what? We're gonna set our differences aside for today. There is no beef, well unless this breedable gentleman from Impel Down is joining us. Taking one look at the guy, you can tell that this Navy Admiral is a Navy addict. There's a theory that the light fruit makes Kizaru's mind move at the speed of light as well, so he needs to smoke to slow down his thoughts. Kizaru smoked so much that he fried up his last brain cells like I fried up Big Mom's egg earlier. You know how there's always that one guy in the circle who says, "Do I look high, bro?" And their face looks like this. Yeah, that's Kizaru. Good thing you have those shades on, bro. I wish there was more to his role than being the ultra high guy, but his placement exists to reassure others that they're not as toasted as him. But weed doesn't always make you look like you inherited a few extra chromosomes. For example, Nico Robin has one of the most profound questions and theories when she's blazed. So she's going to be taking the role of the Philosopher's Stone in this circle. While Robin tokes, she loves to engage the group in stimulating conversations like, what do you think happened in the Void Century? Where do Devil Fruit come from? And does Sanji like him young because his mom died young? Robin loves to hear other people's perspective, and she writes them down in her notebook in case she gets too high to remember it, which is a very likely possibility. It's no secret that Robin uses her devil fruit to hold and toke from multiple joints at once. Being a seasoned smoker of the circle has given her the nickname Devil Lettuce Child. Robin is a much needed member for our circle, but sometimes she can get too deep with her questions. Like when she asked me, if you died tomorrow, who do you think your death would impact the most? Bro, my breathing has shifted to manual after that last bong rip. Why are you asking me this shit? And don't get me wrong, as much as I like being deep in thought, I'd sometimes prefer being deep inside some thoughts. And so, to avoid being in too deep, let's lighten the mood with our musician, Brook. Now, as many of you know, Brook gets stoned to the bone. Is this why he's always laughing? Not exactly. Brook's natural laughter comes from the fact that he can't nut. My man has been on a 50-year-long edge streak in his skeleton form, and this half a century of gooning has made him naturally high. So then why does he smoke? Brook smokes solely for the fact that music is better when you're high. It hits his ears just right. But wait, Brook doesn't have any ears to hear. But he can also play instruments better when he's gassed, which is why Brooks isn't gonna have aux. He is the aux. Our Soul King Brook can play anything from rock to classical music depending on the vibe we need. Besides the tunes, Brook can also use his ice powers so we can take cool hits from the bong Usopp made. Fun fact, Usopp's bong has a built-in log post that points to the highest in the room. Now Brook is a blast to have, but if I had to nitpick, sometimes him and Luffy laugh too much. And they've got the most contagious laughs in the show. So if they're laughing, everyone else is too, and we're not stopping. Which is why we need a dark empath to balance out their laughs. Give me Corazon for the silent guy of the sesh. Corazon barely talks when he's sober, and when he's high, he doesn't even say a word. Corazon always has an air of mystery to him. Is he contemplating something profound? Or is he about to whip out his world government badge and burn the ship to the ground? I guess we'll have to fuck around and find out. But why do we need someone who doesn't say much in the circle? Well, we gotta keep the energy leveled. If there's too many big personalities like Luffy, Brook, and Roger, then everyone's gonna compete to be the center of attention, and it's gonna turn into a dick measuring contest. And I just had my actual dick measuring contest with Zoro earlier, and spoiler alert, his fourth sword is the biggest. It might seem strange, but we need people like Corazon and Kizaru to sit in the corner and just vibe out. They serve to balance the energies, and that's okay. We'll always have room for them. Speaking of rooms, our next member joining the circle is Trafalgar D, Water D, Law D.
Nice.
Our Surgeon of Sour Diesel will be taking the role of the designated roller. Using his devil fruit powers, Law can craft the perfectly rolled blunt for this session. I swear it hits every time. Perfect length, girth, it never canoes, and somehow he manages to spell Law into the filter tip. Law works hand in hand with Usopp, who finishes off the roll by packing it with his nose. Law is a very functional stoner. No matter how high he is, he's always keeping his cool. Well, except for when Luffy makes the floor rubber and makes Law drop the weed everywhere. He loses his shit then. But other than rolling, Law also keeps the session going. When someone is telling a story and they're hogging the blunt, he shambles the blunt from their hand, usually replacing it with one of Eustace Kid's special sock. Law brings law and order to a session and organizes the stoners in a controlled paraphernalia room, which is the opposite of our last character, who will be taking the wild card spot in their sesh. Now, if you've been counting how many characters you guessed right, you can stop now, because there's no way you'll guess that our wild card of the crew is Gaimon. You got me fucked up if you think I'm leaving out the guy who's growing a nug of weed on his head. So what exactly does Gaimon do? Well, he does everything, everywhere, all at once. He can be as funny as Luffy with his wild stories. He can bring a tear to our eye if he tells us about his abandoned origin story. And sometimes he just straight up tweaks out and starts talking to the animals like he had the voice of all things. Yeah, bro has voices in his head. It is risky bringing him to the session, because sometimes he can just whip out his cock, hacky, and knock out all of the members of the crew. But that's a risk I'm willing to take, unlike Sanji, who shouldn't have risked it all and is now on a highlight reel of To Catch a Predator. And that's our blunt rotation. Comment how many guesses you got right, and if you enjoyed this video, let me know and I'll make a part 2 with a nightmare circle, or just a straight up circle jerk. Be sure to submarine your way down to the subscribe button and smash it like it was Big Mom. Bye bye.